Well, hello and welcome to the Responsibility We Carry Athletic Support Service Learning Series. I am your co-host, Travis Ballard, and I currently serve as the N4A ECC Institutional Partnership Program Chair. And our other co-host is Mr. Quadro Steele, who serves as our co-chair for the ECC IPP Committee. And I want to shout out Ms. Lucy Mason, who serves as our Learning Series co-producer, director, and video production and editor. In honor of Father's Day, fathers and father figures across the intercollegiate athletic and professional sports field, we bring you part 3 of our learning series entitled Fatherhood. And we have a phenomenal leader, a trailblazer in the intercollegiate athletic industry, and more importantly, an incredible father and humanitarian, one of my mentors, Dr. Stéphane Fuqua, Associate Director of Athletics Academic Services at the University of Illinois. Dr. Fuqua, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. Appreciate it.
So, Dr. Fuqua, we usually have a competition on announcing our guests. And Travis he's been winning. He usually takes the formal route. I try to take the observational route. So I've not ever met you, but I've seen you kind of from afar. You almost got the, hey, is that Eric Wood? Nope, that is Dr. Stephen. But I got a kind of a hype up and a question for you. When did Illinois start rolling like the Wu-Tang to these conferences? They are everywhere.
Yeah, it's been really an interesting journey with our personnel. It's been an honor, obviously, to be able to get someone, such a dynamic individual as Shanika Mungeon on our staff. I work alongside Liz Reyes, obviously, is a newly appointed VP2 and someone who we came in the industry together, known each other for almost 10 years now. And so, and she's my partner on the student athlete development side. So, and then, we just have a group that is incredibly passionate. And I joke with Shanika about the times that they had at Florida State and how jealous I am of how much they developed such a close friendship. And so we're trying to create something similar. We've had some units, academic units over the years that I've witnessed, at least in my time, that have been incredibly close. You can see the culture permeate through their staff. And then when you see them at the conference, it's just so cool to see how active they are, how engaged they are with each other. And I think on our day-to-day, it just creates that much cohesion, so we're able to operate at a high level, something that we all kind of take pride ourselves in ourselves. And I think when you show people that you care and you can stand spending the day with them, 8 to 10 hours a day with them, like we always do, it just, it kind of adds to that. So me personally, and at least in my role, man, I'm honored, really. It is so cool to see them work and just be a part of it, and oftentimes really follow their lead in what they do. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. It is pretty cool to see, and we're gonna try to ride this thing until the end. So hopefully to give us a few more years together.
And my second hype up in question, not related to fatherhood, but just so people know how y'all roll. When did y'all turn conferences into sneaker wars? How y'all showing up with the suits and the Jordan 1s? Yeah. Who's coordinating that? I saw you with the orange and blue. Like, now everybody's showing up in their Jordans. How y'all starting that? Who's coordinating that stuff?
Man, I think that at some point, past President Nichols, I think we need to talk about this, add it to our board of director calls, because it's levels to being a sneakerhead, and I'm at that lower tier level. But when I start seeing, Jordan 4s and Union Dunks and Off-White, I'm like, all right, now come on, what we doing, man? I need to go back to the academic advisor 11s, the Cole Haan, and stick to what I know. But I hear you. I'm like, all right, now, I gotta transfer money from my checking to my savings now, so I can afford this, so I can keep up.
Well, brother, we'll get right into this. For the first question, there always seems to be a debate around, what it means to be a present father. How do you define what present fatherhood looks like?
Man, that's a deep question, because it depends on your situation. I think for me, it was always making an impact, making sure my son's name is Dominic. So if I say that name, that's him. Make sure Dominic knows that no matter what, no matter where I'm at, no matter what's going on in life, I'm always there. I'm always present. So he lives currently in just outside of Ann Arbor, and we share him and his mom and I share him. But I'm in that area multiple times a month. I'm fortunate to have be in a position at an institution and a part of an athletic program that is very understanding of my situation. And so if I have to take a long weekend and go drive up there, spend a day with them, spend a couple days with them, go to a baseball game or whatever the case may be, then I'm able to do that, which helps. It helps tremendously because it makes him know that no matter where we're at in the world, dad is nothing but a drive away. So I think being present can be obviously physical. I think, emotional. He's 8 years old, going on 28, I say. But he is dealing with a lot of things right now, a lot of change, personally, a lot of change that's coming external. And, it's challenging me as a father, but we take the time to talk about all of that. His issues, while they may not seem big to me, they're huge for him. And I have to treat him like that, because every moment you can take time, slow down and take time, then that's a critical moment you have for that I have personally for my son to grow and develop. It does take a lot of work. As we all know, our jobs are fast paced. You grind it out sometimes. Sometimes you come back home and you're irritated and you try your best not to put that on our children, but it happens, and so I have to force myself to slow down and say, whatever he's talking about right now is the most important thing. It doesn't matter. And so that's a part of it, and I think there's other ways, obviously, financial, making sure that he has what he needs monetarily. He's an active participant in school and helping him with his homework. Now he's getting up there now. He's going to the third grade. So it's really challenging my math skills and the things that I was never strong in school. So sometimes I have to have a refresher, but as long as he thinks I know what I'm talking about, then that's all that matters. But yeah, there's a lot of ways, and I think it takes intentional effort to do that, to do it the right way, at least.
Isn't it amazing that our math ability sort of bottoms out at third grade? The second and two, the way they doing math now, like about that second, third grade, they out my league, man. The way out.
I'm trying,
Understood. So my next question is, you mentioned talking about being present and the energy required. Obviously, you work with student athletes and they require a level of energy to mentor, to push. And then you have a large staff that requires a level of energy and to push. How do you have enough energy, or how do you balance that energy for your son and then really have a little bit left for yourself?
Yeah, I think I can't remember who I heard say this, but work-life integration is conceptually it is like you say work-life balance, but it's really harmony, work-life harmony. I heard somebody say that a long time ago, because no matter how you swing it, your life and work merge together in every way. And so you just have to have, I have that mentality. I try to maintain harmony with my work. I know what's expected of me. And so anytime things come out of the blue and I have to handle it, there's a harmony there that I'm able to adjust and pivot. My son, just like all of us, Jackie even spoke about this at the convention. Our kids have been raised in this industry, if we've been in it long enough. And so he's very, very understanding of me and the things that pull me left and right in any given day. So I'm grateful to him, because he knows, hey, if I got to go handle this business and leave him with one of my staff, or I have to take him with me on a trip, or whatever the case may be, then he's, Dad, where we going? let's get it, So a lot of it is communication on him. He likes to know the plan. He wants to be with dad. So I tell him, hey, here's what we're going to do today. Here's our schedule. And then if things come up, he's like, okay, dad's locked in right now. Let me go do my thing. And so I think for me, again, I'm blessed to have, a son that really understands and really enjoys being with me and what I do every day. And so a lot of times when the challenges come up or there needs to be a pivot, then I'm able to keep that harmony in both aspects, my work, my job, and then also my family, with my son.
One of the things that I've always admired about you is the many identities that you have, but your appreciation for the people who have helped you to uphold those identities as a father, as an administrator. Can you talk about the village of people, family, your work, your coworkers that have been able, that have allowed you to uphold those many identities, particularly like you mentioned, being a single father, and how that village is so important to your day-to-day operation?
I really have to I'm gonna be very specific on this one because I have to thank the staff we had at Cincinnati. My son was born in Cincinnati. They were incredibly supportive of me, of me and his mom, of what we went through. I was working with men's basketball at the time, and as we know, that's a very demanding sport. But that staff, Dr. Joe Lucky, Jen Sturm, Kerry Thoman, the leaders of that unit were incredibly important, patient with me, understanding. They were involved in the process. They showed up to the hospital when he was born. They were at the baby showers. They supplied me with my first day of diaper. It was about 1 million diapers. It was my first day though of diaper, so it was stuff like that that just helped me feel comfortable. One, as a new father, trying to figure it out. Man, what do I do now? And then two, they helped raise him. They were there when I had to go to a coach's meeting, and it was nap time for him. It's just stuff like that. And then over the years, I obviously transitioned to Ohio State, which is even more demanding to an extent, and the staff there was understanding when needed. And then here, I've been here, I'm touching on 5 years here now, and it has been wonderful. And it's interesting to see as he grows up, the transition. You have a good son, a good child when people can stand being around him. So it is. I am blessed. I'm really blessed for the community. I think to your question, Travis, like I could not do what I do secularly as a father, in any capacity of what I represent as a human being, as a man, without my community. I realized that a long time ago, and you can't be an independent contractor in this world. You have to have a community, even if it's nothing short of mental support, emotional support. We can get as into the nitty-gritty as we want, but obviously I'm unmarried, and my son's mother and I share him. So obviously there was a process there of being a new father, and then the transition to being a single father, so those folks really were along the way, were critical. I could not have done it without them. There are times obviously where it's just me and Dominic, and we looking at each other like, what we gonna do? And but outside of that, it is I really couldn't do it. I really want to say specifically, Dr. Lucky, Joe Lucky, Kerry, Jen were critical to me. And here it's been Shanique and Liz. I had Trayvon Briggs, he has a son as well. The boys were together while I was at NACTA, and I was a wreck. I was like, I need to get back to my son. But of course, we have board duties, we have N4A to be present at, and but man, you really can't do it without your community. When I first got here, Brian Russell, obviously, he was the one who I reported to, and a part of me taking this job, again, every move, you have to be very conscientious of how it impacts your people, your family, how it impacts Dominic. And he was the one who made me feel comfortable, but that moving to Champaign-Urbana was the best move for our family. And so again, specifically, I have to shout out these people, but Dr. Russell and his family embraced me as their own, and everybody along the way.
Got a follow up to that. You made a great point about being selective on where you go based upon, your family, and everybody's situation is unique. How important how's it been for you? And do you think for other, and in this case, we're talking particularly fathers, to talk about their family situations and values going in the door as either a negotiating tool? A lot of times we can sometimes apologize for our family, or we try to get the job, then we say, by the way, I got a family.
Yeah.
Did you go in the door going, hey, this is who I am, this is my son, this is my co-parenting situation, you're taking all of us or none of us? Is that the kind of energy you took, or did you take another route?
Absolutely. Every position that I've had since I've had Dominic, which is Ohio State and here, has been, we come as a package. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and it's a part of the first question about being present. Dominic has been with me in every campus visit, every house hunting tour, every part of it. It's up to him. They have to go through the gauntlet of Dominic to be able to, as if you're as a hiring manager, part of the interview is them interviewing the candidates, interviewing you. And we had to talk about culture and environment, and can we grow here? Can we flourish in this environment? And and it's no different than any educational pursuits. When we found out we were pregnant, I got it. It was shortly after. Well, I'm sorry, I think it was before or after, but it happened at the same time. I found out I got admitted to my PhD program, and so there was a lot going on. But my mentality has always been, I'm in it for the long haul. So whatever happens, some of the things have to be decided right in the moment. Is this good for my family? But other things it's an investment too. Is this going to be good? Is this going to position us in a way where we can feel comfortable, we can have a better life, where we can flourish in this environment? And it's not all financial. I think once you have a family or you're accountable to other people, your shift professionally and the decisions you make change. Everything changes, but specific to your question, I think your shift in how you approach secular pursuits changes. So my approach to going to Ohio State was, I have to get the experience working with Ohio State football to set me up for whatever's to come. Because I know if I'm dealing with that type of program, I'm working with those student athletes, I'm serving them, then I'm probably going to experience things that are going to provide me with the skills or sharpen my toolbox for the jobs that I really want, like a director of academics position, a sport administrator, whatever the case may be, a campus position. And then, trust in God, trust that the decisions you make are aligned with your values, and then based on that, good things will happen. And a lot of it is faith. And so when I got the opportunity at Illinois, it was actually further from Dominic, and really made an impact on, just the literal distance. He was still in Cincinnati at the time. And so I had to make a decision and talk to his mom about, hey, here's the reason, convince her, hey, here's the reason why I'm even considering this position. What do you think? Dominic has been with me. He likes, and again, he's, I don't know, I think three at the time, 4 at the time. So this is the reason why. And then, getting here, obviously since then they've moved to Michigan, but I see him more now than I did when I was, 2 hours away in that distance from Columbus to Cincinnati. So again, it's all about, there's a lot of factors depending on your personal situation but there are a lot of factors that contribute. But for me, if he doesn't approve, it doesn't happen. So it's been good to and I think, again, to your first question, that's about being present. He feels a part of the process, which has helped me make decisions and then us flourish in any environment.
You know, a common theme that we saw in our motherhood series was the parent and professional guilt.
Mhm.
And how that intersects with the competitive nature of the sports field and intercollegiate athletics. Can you talk about your experiences of how you've had to navigate through that guilt, whether that's sacrificing time with your son to meet a professional obligation and vice versa, sacrificing your time for a professional obligation to be with your son?
I think it usually happens if I feel that way. Excuse me. It usually happens when it comes to travel. Again, I'm in a very different situation as a father who's sharing his son with the mother, in that our time is very is scheduled out. I mean, we have holidays, we have breaks. If I travel to Michigan to see him, those are times that I'm able to plan out and be very intentional with. So I don't typically leave, I'm not typically away from Dominic a lot. So the guilt isn't as much there if that's a part of it. But from my standpoint, again, the guilt usually happens that I want him here all the time. That's what it's about. But I think for me, like this past, I'll talk specifically about this past N4A trip. That wasn't a common theme that where I would leave him in Champaign, go to Orlando and handle business. But we schedule it out where he's usually with Papa Mita, who are my parents, his grandparents, because we have him spend at least a week with them every year. And we try to schedule it out ahead of time where the week of the convention is that week. So it usually works out. Some things happen personally that it didn't work out this time, but so that I did feel guilt, but it wasn't. It's usually not as consistent because I'm able to schedule our times. He knows when I'm coming up, a couple times a month to Michigan. So it's very much, very, very intentional.
You don't mind, I'm going to ask her, because Shanika Munson mentioned being a co-parent and how she loved those, she needed those breaks sometimes when I think we said our son was with his father. Talk about how important it is to be, we talk about a father, but it's also important to be a partner and a co-parent. How have you navigated that role, and how important is that role? And the funny thing about co-parenting, we kind of talk about it as a situation, but it's a reality, right? And so how do you navigate that part of the space, and how important is it for you to be a good co-parent and vice versa?
That's a great question, and that's the reality of it. I mean, when I think, and I'll get a little personal here. It's okay. So I guess first, me personally, we have joint custody of our son, which has been it's been a game changer because we're able to both make decisions for Dominic equally. And residentially, he's in Michigan with her. So those are the decisions that we have to make. Those are the co-parenting decisions. A lot of time is time, schedule. We both work hot, fast-paced jobs and demanding jobs. So we have to communicate about how that impacts Dominic. And then, he's growing up. Again, I say he's 8, but he's 28. He's growing up at a fast pace, and he's dealing with things that impact him in a way that are new every day. And so we have to talk about those things as well, amongst all the other things, the external things that are going on. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey because we were together, close, had a bright future. Then we separated, and then we went through the legal process. And so throughout that time, we have tried to figure out, and one thing I appreciate greatly about her is that we have been aligned in trying to make sure that it doesn't impact Dominic in any way. Then it already has to. As a split household, you already are raising a resilient child by default. They're gonna deal with challenges. It does not matter how you swing it. But I've been grateful to her because we both agreed that whatever happens with us, we don't want it to affect him. And so a lot of that allows us to have conversations about, take ourselves out of it, excuse me, and have conversations about how it impacts him, education, health, the opposite sex, just all the critical things that he's going through throughout his life. And part of that is secular, but again, that's only a fraction of it. We have to talk about critical things, and then we've been able to do that. And as if you meet him, you can see it, and we are grateful that we've been able to do that over the course of his lifetime.
One of the prominent themes in our first recording with Aaron Tillman was the preconceptions of fatherhood and how it's preconceived as a deficiency, particularly when you look at Black fatherhood and the historical marginalization of that. We rarely get to see the positive or hear enough about the positive aspects. I want to know, how has fatherhood positively affected your vocation and your professional career?
Oh man, I don't think I would be here without that. You think that your profession impacts your ability to be a father, but I think it's the other way around. Your being a father impacts how you're able to be a better leader and be a better man, be a better human being, because like I said before, you're accountable to somebody. Somebody's life is dependent on you and the decisions you make. And he's a boy, he's a boy who is looking to, he's figuring out how to be a young man and a man himself. And so how the decisions I make and the environment that I create for him are going to be critical to his growth, and so I've been able to, I hope that I've been able to be a better leader or be a better practitioner, because I'm intentional about him. I'm trying to be a better father. Being a new father is great. It's the best thing in the world. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's the best accomplishment I've ever had, if you even want to put it that way. But I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed to have a great son who has helped me grow as a person. My father is, we have similar stories in a split household. He visited me in Houston, Texas, and brought me to Cleveland eventually. And we talked a lot about some of the similarities, but it's cool to have a different relationship with even my father as a father, as he's mentored me as a first-time father to be a better person. And so, a lot of, how I put it is, it is different. As a father, in this situation, at least in mine, you're always gonna, most of the time you're gonna be the B side of things. And so you have to understand that, have context to that, but also understand that it should never prevent you from being present, from being a father. Dominic wouldn't be here today, or we wouldn't have the relationship today if it was that detrimental. It's not ideal, but it's not detrimental. We have a great relationship. We pick up where we left off every time. And being able to be in a position like this at an institution like this, who's allowed me to be a father, is a game changer. It's a game changer. And that's why I say your mentality shifts as you become a parent, because it's not that difficult to go out and get a higher paying job, pursue other degrees, but I'm at the point in my career where I'm like, man, I'm happy. I'm happy with the people that are around me. I'm happy with my son. I'm happy with the relationship I have with his mother. It is an incredible life right now. So I'm good. I'm good, and I'm grateful to everybody in it. This is a time where I think as fathers, we may not get a lot of the credit we deserve. People may feel that way. You may not hear the positive in it sometimes, but it's there. it's there. It just may not be public to everybody else. I smile every day because of the environment I have in the world around me right now. So not everybody has to know that. It's okay. But I'm good.
We're gonna get you out of here on 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Goal is to be quick. Goal is
Okay.
to be authentic. But we're gonna start with one very specific to Father's Day. Share a chore that you have, and we're talking cutting grass, gutters, whatever, right? That you have that your staff would not believe you do.
Man, that's a good one. I would say sewing probably. I don't do it often, but when it needs to be done, I have a little kit that I have. My mother Mita taught me long time ago, and it's like riding a bike. Once you get it, you kind of don't forget. Now, don't ask me to crochet a quilt or anything like that, but I'm gonna take care of a little hole every now and then in the pants, or something like hem something up. But no, that I would say that. I don't think I've ever shared that with anybody. So
Yo, that's special. That's a gift right there, and that comes in handy. There's a lot, especially with a little boy. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's got to be sewn in.
Always, yep.
Hey, that's an essential skill set.
It is. It is, and I'm grateful for that, man. It's like, man, if I hadn't, you never know. You know what I'm saying? You have to take it to the cleaners or buy new stuff, but or I guess you can resource folks. People, I'm sure folks will do it, but you kind of want to have that in your back pocket just in case you need it.
So next time I'm at the conference and I need something hemmed up,
come to the room, man.
Got it real quick.
Come to the room, I got you.
Our second rapid fire is, how are you writing your own story?
Man, that's I am a person, and probably need to do better at this. I'm not one to always advocate for myself. I'm one of those that, listen, I put the work in, and if it's appreciated, that's great. I know that I'm confident in my abilities, and I use my historical context and everything I've been through to accomplish these things. I think I said this before, but I have committed to my life is my ministry. So I'm, again, just like this series, I'm grateful to be able to share a bit of my story. But I've opened up more. I think I've been willing to open up. I'm not naturally a very open person. And so, but what I've learned, especially as I've ascended to a leadership position, that is critical to your staff and to people that you're around to be more open. And so I've tried to do that a little bit more, share bits and pieces. I think, I hope people appreciate that. I think it is important to know people's story and have some context to be able to work with them better and to be able to have relationships with folks. But I think, I think I'm getting better at it, to be honest with you. I think it's a skill set that I'm trying to work on and just improve at, to be able to tell a little bit about my background. I love talking about my son, so this was a no-brainer, in fatherhood. I think it goes a lot deeper than what we were able to touch on today. But, one thing I will say is I hope that folks, whoever watches this, I hope folks feel comfortable enough to reach out or come up to me if we're in the same location and ask me more questions about it, because I'm willing to talk about it. I think it is a part of people's lives. It's a reality, and it doesn't make you deficient in any way. But it can help you catapult, your goals, your aspirations, because what you go through is what makes you who you are, as long as you're sticking to your values and your beliefs.
I want to echo that. I wish 20 years ago, and it's sad to say, feel like 20 years I've been in the business, but it was about 15 years in when I started actually talking to other fathers. And I've been a father as long as I've been in the business. And if I'd have had you earlier, I think it would have helped my confidence in taking those risks. And Derek, those people we've been around, but we don't have those conversations about the other part of trying to advance in this field and being able to feel comfortable. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're watching this, just look for the blue and orange Jordans at the conferences or whatever. But I appreciate you willing to be that resource, because there are a lot of current fathers, including myself, that learn from this and get better. But there are a lot of people thinking about starting families, and they're wondering, can they do that in this field? So I appreciate that. Your last question: what is a responsibility that you carry that you would not give up?
Being a father. I mean, that's my number one priority in life right now, is to be the best father for Dominic. I would never give that up. I'm so happy that he's in my life, man. It is an incredible blessing. I think, like, he's my world. He's my world, straight up and down. So there's no other any other responsibility that comes along with that. I embrace it. I love every part of it. And yeah, I would never give anything up for this responsibility.
Dr. Fuqua, I want to first, Travis will close us out. I know he has a relationship with you. This is the first time we've met. And I mentioned you give me kind of Eric Webb vibes from like you got the look alike on your pages, but you also have that leadership glow to you when you see it. And so I can also tell you're a great and caring father. So I'm thanking you for sharing your time with us. I think I've learned a lot. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot.
I also appreciate, E. Wood is somebody that I've looked up to as a person. I think it may be the glare on our heads, but I do appreciate the comparison, because he's someone in the industry that I've looked up to and hope to kind of model my game after. You know how it is. A couple of leaders you look up to and see, man, I want to take pieces from them and try to implement that into my wheelhouse, into my skill set. So again, grateful for that, brother. I really do appreciate you.
I want to thank you. And, one of the salient traits that I've admired about you is, and people could see it even in your responses. I don't know if you noticed, but every one of your responses, you lifted someone else up and you encouraged others. And I think that's your ministry, brother. I think that's what I've gotten from it. And in every way, while you've been pulling others up, you've also been being pulled up as well by lifting up others. And so I appreciate, that trait about you. I know others have, and we just want to thank you for coming on the series and just sharing your insight. I'll close us out real quick, and I'd be remiss without didn't mention and acknowledge our ECC subcommittee partners that have supported this initiative throughout the whole process. Our current ECC chair, Brother Ramon Cooper, for his support. Our incoming ECC chair member, Ms. Jacqueline Taylor, and one of our previous interviewees, Ms. Shanika Mungeon, who was also on our motherhood series, and she's been a big supporter on the N4A board of directors. Aaron Tillman, who's also going to have an N4A role next year, has also been on our fatherhood series, big supporter. And Ms. Jackie Nicholson, who served as N4A president for the 2022-2023 academic year. So until next time, everyone, thank you for joining. Take care.